And we're back.
Alright.
I'm at Merley Players.
Yeah, Merley Players.
Yeah,
Continue what you were
let's
about to
skip the
say.
introductions. Um, so going back to prisons, I saw on April 7th, 2011, a really, really, really amazing poetry reading with this poet named Reginald Dwayne Betts, who was incarcerated at an early age and spent many of his years as a young adult in the prison system. And in the prison system, he learned about poetry. And he writes really gorgeous, amazing poetry. And a couple of things he said from the reading really stuck with me. Uh, I guess I'll just start out by reading like one or two of his poems, and then we'll talk about how that relates into narrative.
Go right ahead.
Yeah.
If that helps you see an argument about prison, go right ahead. All ears.
Okay.
Our listeners too.
So the first is a poem of his called "Love in the Time of Chain Link Fences." I watched. It was a chain link fence, a tear falling from her face, the echo of a car door slamming. It was Saturday. Believe me when I tell you I fell in love. Not with her, but with her tears. It was a Saturday and the sun was a fat globe in the sky. I'd been staring at it, trying to fix my eyes, when she pulled into the parking lot. The driver's side door slammed my fantasies into a question mark. Dave's sister. She visited twice a month, her hair the color of the back of my hand. I dreamed about her for weeks and wrote her letters. She cried when she walked to the car, and after walking in, ashamed at her brother in chains. I wanted her to be ashamed of me. So, the reason why I chose to read this poem is because it brings up something really complex in an emotional tone. That final line, I wanted her to be ashamed of me, it
It kind of grabs attention.
Well,
like,
no,
even though it's negative, he still wants it.
and it brings up this question of, I mean, prison. There's a lot of camaraderie in prison. Camaraderie in prison.
Okay.
There are definite friendships and allyships that are forged. There are definite enmitudes which also erase, loneliness because you're worried about this guy who's got it in for you.
Yeah.
But this is a profound moment of melancholy where he wants someone to be ashamed of his actions because that means he's got someone on the outside who cares. And
It's pretty deep.
on the same token, it's also it's because he wants something that is normally considered, I don't want someone to be ashamed of me.
Well, yeah. But I mean, that's the only thing he's got going for him. I mean, like if we're talking about someone who is in jail who wants someone to be
based on
ashamed,
this poem, based on this poem, yeah.
based on this poem, we don't know this guy's life. His life probably sucks. You know, doesn't have a lot of freedoms. I mean, he's in a jail cell, probably with a roommate that looks really, really scary. Every day he's got to watch out about himself being shanked by someone.
Yeah, these are all assumptions, though. We don't know any of that from the poem.
Well, yeah, but I mean, in the poem, usually when they give you like just a very short snippet, your mind gets to wonder and you think, and so you're thinking about, this could be the possible life he's living, and the only thing that makes him kind of happy that someone is ashamed of him on the outside, because that means he still exists, because he's probably in hell right now.
Well, it also brings up this kind of interesting point where in prison there's a lot of motion where people find their faith, they find their ability to write and communicate. A lot of the time, prison produces a lot of really amazing artists and people who are craftsmen in a certain way. There's this. What was that one really bad
Bad what?
show that's based on the prison system where
Prison Break?
No, not Prison Break. But purely looking at prison as this kind of place where people do wrong, it causes problems not just in narrative but in society, like in general.
How does this relate to Gears of War and Marcus Phoenix in jail? You want him to have that person on the outside who feels ashamed of him?
Oh no, just there were so many other choices they could have made instead of having him in prison in the beginning. Instead of that would have done the same things emotionally, but by having him be in prison and not having that be explored, it kind of perpetuates this idea that those incarcerated are others who want to tear at the fabric of our society. It makes
so they're labeling the main character as an other.
not that they're labeling the main character as the other, because they try to remove him from the other, but there's still the other that exists, and that's a problem that exists throughout the Gears of War narrative. I mean, at the very end, you see everybody celebrating because the entire Locust race was eradicated, and I mean, except for
and the Lambent
and the Lambent, like they basically committed double genocide.
And
everybody's like, yeah,
yeah,
except for Marcus in the end, but we don't really know like whether he's. Well, I mean, he says he's mourning his father. He says he's mourning Dom, and he's like, I don't know what to do anymore. But
I think at the end he realizes he just did kill two. I don't call them intelligent race.
No, they are. Well, one, they are intelligent races. We've seen them gambling in the game.
The Lambent's intelligent. I mean,
the Lambent and the Locust are intelligent. But hold on, that's aside from the point. Like, we're not told that's what he's doing. Like, he could be mourning about Dom. He could be mourning about his dad. He could be mourning him killing two intelligent races. He could be mourning because he crapped his pants. Like, he could be mourning because he smells really bad, and that's why he takes off his armor. Like.
Yeah, but
there are all these things
hints.
It could have been. The hints aren't strong enough.
What?
Hints are what you've done in the game and what you've seen in the game.
That's how the game is made with the plot.
That's
what are you trying to say? Because when I see him at the beach with his armor off, looking out there, and then he's like, what do we have? Mm-hmm. And then Anya's like, we have tomorrow. He comes. I think he realizes that even though those two alien races were mass murdering his whole human race, he committed double genocide. He doesn't have anything to have anymore. His main brother in arms, Dominic, dies. His wife dies. His father, that he never sees, and he finally gets a glimpse at the end, dies in his arms. And at least he destroyed the person with the gun pointed at his head, the Locust and the Lambent. But he's there, with the Gulf War syndrome, reliving the nightmares of them dying. I think that is the main goal they were trying to give out, especially at the end. I mean, it was kind of, like you said, it was kind of cheesy because Anya, a love interest, she wasn't really in there. She wasn't really saying like cute things to Marcus, and I don't know, like having an example like, oh Marcus, back in high school when I send you that note. I still have that crush on you. There's nothing except at the end when she holds his hand. But I think that might be a nurturing action because she probably knows his pain. I mean, he lost Dominic. He lost his dad in the same game. And the games, I think, played how many hours? Maybe like a day in their universe or something. But let's just say in a short time, maybe like a week, and he's just there.
I don't believe it's all there. I believe that's also a very shallow kind of portrayal of post-traumatic stress disorder. If it's that, I don't believe it's even long enough to be post-traumatic stress disorder, of doubt and guilt. I mean, I don't know.
So what do you think that last the end of the game? If it's not post-traumatic, why did he take his armor?
It's too quick for post-traumatic stress disorder. Like,
too quick.
Because here's the thing. Like, that's not the way memory works. Memory doesn't work that way. Where, you don't just sit and remember something by will. I can't sit and remember something by will. I've got a terrible memory normally. What happens is you'll be doing something completely unrelated, and then something from your past will just come up and kick you in the butt. Like, you can't help it. Something that you're guilty about, something that keeps you. I'm gonna really quick before we take a break, read this excerpt from this poem called "Three Soldiers" by Bruce Holland Rogers. 1. My Marines bring me questions. When do we get to shower? Sergeant, how do you say good afternoon again? Sarge, where can I get more gun oil? I have answers. Tomorrow, maybe. Mesale. Use mine. Answering their questions is my job, but when Anaya was shot and bleeding out, he grabbed my arm and said, Sergeant, Sergeant. I understood the question, but damn, I didn't have an answer. 2. Foreign war. No U.S. soldier could see that kid would have shot him. But that's a long-range ordnance for you. Calder stood next to me in the street, looking at the pieces. We've come so far from home, he said. That we'll never get back. You dumbass, I said. But a year later, I stood on the tarmac hugging my child, thinking of that kid in pieces, and I wasn't home. 3. Decisions. In morning twilight, far away, my men are making up their minds. What's that guy carrying? Friend or foe? I should be there, helping them decide. My wife and my parents do their best to make Christmas dinner conversation around my silence. An hour ago, I was yelling at Angie for turning on the damn news. My father, carving, won't meet my eyes. He says, white meat or dark?
Little awkward family ending right there.